Hi, I'm Rob Cosman. Welcome to my shop. I could decorate my home with just pieces of wood and a finish on them. I'm going to show you what my 10 favorite species of wood are. You might be surprised at what number 1 is. Stay with me. I'm Rob Cosman and welcome to my shop. We make it our job to help you take your woodworking to the next level. If you're new to our channel, be sure to subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and don't forget to turn on the notification on your mobile device so you'll know every time we release a new video. Good? All right, back to the bench. So what I'm going to do is just take them one at a time, start at number 10, and walk you through it, tell you whatever I can tell you, whatever I can share with you about that particular species of wood that may, as I said, entice you to start using it. Ready? Let's go. What I'm going to try to do, as much as possible, is take the piece of wood that I'm talking about, hand plane it, quickly put a wax finish on it, show you what it looks like, show you, if I can, a piece that I've had for a while, so you'll see what it ages, or how it ages. That's a pretty critical part, because everything oxidizes, and you need to know what that piece of wood is going to look like. In some cases, as little as a week from the time you've put a finish on. So this is a piece of black cherry. This comes in at number 10. It's a nice furniture wood, furniture grade wood. It has that pinkish hue, which is really quite pretty. It's a warm wood, and by that I mean it's inviting to your touch. Medium hard, not as hard as, I don't know what the actual specific gravity is, but I'd say it was somewhere around walnut. Not quite as hard as maple. Now I'll just put a little bit of wax on this corner just to show you what it looks like. The sapwood, which is the part of the tree that grows close just under the bark, it's a part that is still alive. It is a creamy white, not what most people would want. They try to stay away from that part. The heartwood is the fleshy color. Very pronounced grain, easy to see. So that's what it looks like. The biggest feature of cherry is how rapidly it changes color. So rapidly that if you had two pieces, I remember one time doing some cabinet doors. I had several of them, and I had taken them outside to let them cure a little bit faster. And after they were dried, I had stacked them in front of each other. So there was a tall one and then a shorter one. And it wasn't there more than an hour or two. And in the sunshine, when I took the shorter one away, you could see a line across the top. That was a result of oxidation. So you got to be careful that way. So this is fresh cherry. Here's a jewelry box I made my daughter Erica, and the date on the bottom is 1988. This just has an oil finish on it. So that's the color that it has achieved after 35 years. Now, a little bit of a warning. If your cherry is in strong sunlight, I have cherry furniture that's exposed to the sun side of the room, and it's almost to the color of, it would be the color of this benchtop maple. Completely bleached out, yet on the other side of it, it looks kind of like that. There's the inside where it's kind of maintained the color a little bit more just because the lid's closed and there's no UV light getting in there, but ages quite well. Just be careful you can't put it in strong sunlight. Planes well. I can't really think, I suppose the only negative side is that it burns quite easily with power tools. If you go too slow with your router bit or just ripping a board, if there's the least little bit of tension and it closes up, it'll burn. And the burn can be rather deep when you're trying to get rid of it. But for a nice furniture grade wood, it's a lovely choice. My number 10. My next wood is holly. I wasn't going to mention price, but This one is expensive. It grows in the eastern United States. And you may be asking, why would I like such a plain wood? Well, I guess the beauty is in the plainness. It's just white. It comes off the hand plane in the most incredible ribbon. I'll get this straight. Now I'll pull the blade in and get a thin shaving for you. It's just such a cool wood. And why it's such a cool wood is when you use it for contrast. So here's a little, I did what was called a standing desk. And all the drawer sides were out of holly. Well, when you open up the drawer, you're not going to find a wood that's going to make that dovetail stand out any more than something like this. So it's a really nice accent wood. Doesn't come in huge pieces. And like I said, it's rather expensive. But as an accent wood, here's a box I made out of English walnut. And then what I did is I made some saw cuts with the dovetail saw, and then I slipped in holly and glued it in place as an accent wood. So when you can use it on areas like that, and it's very fine textured too. It's so a very close grain, just a really, really nice wood. I would love to be able to use it on all my drawer sides because it's just coming off the plane, it is literally silky smooth. Incredible stuff. Don't really notice that there's any smell at all. As far as hardness, what would you say, maple? About the same as maple. As far as stability goes, I haven't worked it in big enough pieces to pass judgment on whether or not it's a particularly stable wood. I have used it for some drawer sides that probably the biggest ones would be about 3 inches by, 16 or 17 inches and about that same depth. And I haven't had a problem. But as I mentioned, you can't get it, there doesn't seem to be a great supply of it. And at the price that it is, I don't think I'll be building an entire piece of furniture with it, but for accents, it's great. This is Cocobolo. Now, Cocobolo is considered an exotic. The dust is really, I think it's classed as being toxic. I know if I had to sand it, I have to wear a mask for sure. It's an oily wood. It's really pretty. As you can see, you've got yellows, purples, various shades of browns and blacks. Really interesting stuff. Again, it's more of an accent wood just because of the cost. But for small boxes, I love using it. I'll put a little bit of finish on there and show you what I mean. Makes a nice tool handle. Comes out of Central America. It oxidizes as well, so that means as wild as it looks right now, in a year's time, you're not going to be able to see much of anything. It's just going to be dark. Keep it out of direct sun, and that'll prolong how long you get to look at stuff like that. Has a really unique smell, almost a cinnamony smell. Very hard, extremely hard. Definitely doesn't float, so it has a specific gravity greater than 1. Doesn't glue really well. As I said, it's naturally oily, so you'll have a difficult time gluing 2 pieces together. I use it for box ends. So number 7 is yew. That's spelled Y-E-W. There's English yew. This is Pacific yew, which grows in the Oregon, Washington, Northern California area. Just looking for my wax. Now what I like about it is a really fine, textured. I love the color. You can see where it's been oxidized. Now that creamy white is the sapwood. It planes nicely. Hey, if you like this video, we have more. Our monthly newsletter has subscriber-only content, discounts monthly on tools, and anything we bring out that's new, subscribers get first crack at it. Click on the link below. Let's get back to work. You see that nice orangey color of the heartwood. Really like this stuff. It feels really good too, particularly for tool handles, and that's what I'm going to show you is a chisel handle that I made probably a year and a half ago. Now, some may say it looks like Douglas fir, but it's extremely fine, really fine. It's heavy, it's dense, it feels wonderful, but most woods do coming off a hand plane, but the close pores one feel particularly nice. So here's what it looks like after oxidizing, and it just gets this nice deep patina that I think is really handsome. Beautiful wood. Now this is Brazilian tulip wood, and this was one of the first exotic woods that I was introduced to back in the 80s when I first was taught by Dale Nesh. And what I loved about it, to this day I love about it, it is the most fragrant. It literally smells like flowers, tulips I guess. But you see the deep pinks and cream color. It's unfortunately really expensive. Delicious. I shouldn't be playing a lot of this away. It's going to cost me. Look at those colors, wild. We'll put some wax on that. This is another really dense tropical hardwood, or exotic. The colors don't stay that brilliant. In fact, there's a box that Super Dave made. Well, that's held up quite well. But this was only, what, 6 months ago? 4 months ago. It really hasn't had any UV light at all in here. By the way, there's a Cocobolo one, that 1998. So you can see how that has darkened down, and you lose a lot of those vibrant colors. Put some wax on this. It's really nice when you get an area like this and you can use that cream as an accent wood or an accent. I typically use this for box lids, box ends. Again, it's not really oily, but it doesn't glue as well as some of our domestic hardwoods like maple or walnut or cherry. But as long as you have lots of contact surface, like I said, on that box bottom, or the box base, you'll be all right. Comes out of Brazil. Lovely smell, and just really pretty. This is Shedua, S-H-E-D-U-A. First introduced to this back in the mid-80s. This is figured Shedua. It's quarter sawn. And this has got some really interesting colors. Now, again, it's an accent wood. I wouldn't build a piece of furniture out of it because of the price. But boxes, tool handles, just a really, really interesting wood, aren't they all? But I love the colors in it, and just the feel of it. Can't say a whole lot different about this one, other than I think it's just unique in how it looks. I don't have anything that I've had around any amount of time to show you what it looks like when it oxidizes, but I don't remember it changing a whole lot. Isn't that pretty? This is Vera wood. Now the most important reason I like this, because this is Super Dave's favorite wood. But this is also known as Argentine lignin. It's a cousin to lignin vitae, which is used or was used for stern tube bearings because of its naturally oily properties and how well it would wear. When you first cut it, if I was over to the bandsaw and I cut into it, it's almost yellow and it rapidly oxidizes. I've cut on the bandsaw, there'll be a little pyramid of green dust and yellow dust, and you come back in a couple hours and it would be a little pile of green dust. Oxidizes to this emerald green. I mean, how can you not like that? Such a pretty wood. Of course, it oxidizes like everything else, but keep it out of direct sunlight and you should get a fair bit of time with these colors. Really hard, really dense, definitely does not float. Wouldn't want to make a life preserver out of it. But rich, vibrant, wow. I tell people I feel wealthy when I work walnut. It has that air about it. So I picked out 3. This is a piece of black walnut, but this is some crotch figure. So when a tree grows and either a heavy branch or the main limb splits and goes off in 2 directions, the grain kind of can't decide which way it's going to go. So that's where that came from. This is English walnut. Wow, it sure vies for one of my favorites of the walnuts. It's such a rich and completely different, but you plane it and it comes off almost like a rubbery skin. Really, really interesting. I'm going to throw some wax on this piece of Claro walnut. So the story behind Claro walnut is it was found in walnut orchards because what they would do to get maximum yield is they would graft Claro walnut with English walnut. One of them had a better fruit, the other had a better root system. I can never remember which. Tell the story as many times as I do. I think I'd get it straight, but I don't. And as a result, as they started cutting down walnut orchards, Dale used to get lots of these stumps, and they'd be full of figure. Now, somewhere around here, I have a piece. I wish I had it to show you. It's the actual graft line that shows where the 2 trees grow together. I'll see if I can find it before we shoot this is number 9 and number 8. I think this is number 8. And look at the color and the figure in that and tell me, how could you not love that wood? But all 3 of them completely different, but wow, what an incredible wood. My number 1 wood for the longest time was maple. This is bird's eye. And it's really weird, or what's weird about this is, if you look at it this way, it looks rather plain Jane. But if you turn around and look at it this way, the bird's eyes really pop out at you. Now, I planed this piece, but these black spots are called mineral deposits, and you run your plane over them, and it takes the edge off right away. So I've got a smaller piece right here, and I'll just plane this up and then put a bit of wax on it and show you what it looks like. No harder to plane than regular maple. You just have to have a light pass and a sharp blade, obviously, to avoid tearing out. Now, as you plane, you see those holes. That means you still got some tears in the surface. So you just keep planing until your shaving comes out intact. No holes. And then you've essentially gotten rid of any of the tears. I'll take it down a little bit deeper. Now, one of the nice things about this is such a tough wood. It really stands up to abuse. It's, what is it on the Janka scale? 145? 1450? So it would be one of our harder, when I say our, North America's harder woods. Doesn't come close to something like desert ironwood, but of the ones that are commercially available, maple or sugar maple, rock maple, there's a lot of different names. Bird's eye doesn't describe a species, it just describes these little pecks or eyes. The best reasoning I ever heard was it's just a dormant bud, so a limb that started and stopped for whatever reason. But it creates a really interesting look in the wood. Where's my, there it is. Which way does it look best? This way or the other way? This way. Really nice texture. Comes off the hand plane beautifully. People always ask, can you plane bird's eye? Of course you can. And when you do, you get just such a silky finish. So you'll also find that the eyes change shape. You can find different size eyes. These are relatively big eyes, and sometimes they're little tiny ones. Decide what you want. If in a box, I'd want smaller eyes, not big ones. Big piece of furniture, you probably want bigger ones. And staying in that maple family, there's also what we would call, you can't really call this fiddleback. I would just call this figured. Which way is best to look at it? That way or this way? Like that. And that's just got swirls and grain. It's rippled grain like that, so the light reflects differently, and that's why you get that fiddleback appearance right here. But it's almost, I wouldn't call it quilted, but just the term figured would fit. And you can get it in, there's lots of different figures. But I like the Eastern maple best because it is nice and hard. It's very durable, tends to be a really stable wood, and rather plentiful. So you may not have guessed, but what has become my favorite wood to work is northern white pine. And the reason why, it is such a beautiful wood. It is so warm to the touch. But more importantly, after woodworking for the last 40, oh my goodness, it's been a long time, 50 plus years. Started when I was a kid. There's no wood that ages any better. And you'll notice that there's all kinds of dings in this. If you have a piece of furniture around your house for more than 10 years, you are going to have dings in it. Pine, for some reason, it just looks the part when it's got dings in it and it's been lived. Whereas a piece of hardwood furniture, it looks terrible when it gets marked up. The patina that it develops, this is a replica of a 17th century French-Canadian traveler's chest. So that's why the nails were just cinched on the inside, because they didn't have screws. There's an oil finish, I think the linseed oil finish, and that's the look. And it just keeps getting richer and deeper. It develops that honey patina. It machines beautifully. People think, oh, it's easy. Well, it actually isn't. You've got to be extremely careful with it, because if you're not careful, you'll mark it up very easily. I start my students off cutting dovetails in pine because it requires a level of finesse that you don't always pick up working a hardwood. It's easy to get, relatively easy to get in wide widths. It's not cheap, especially if you're buying the clear variety. It's soft. You can easily mark it with your thumbnail. It doesn't take much. But as I mentioned, it seems to look the part when it has those scars in it. I love the smell of it. I love sawing it. I love chiseling it. I love planing it. It's a really wonderful wood. So those are my top 10, subject to change. But right now, that's what I'm sticking with. Northern white pine, also called sugar pine. There's lots of different pines, but this is the one that I think is the nicest of the bunch. Well, try some of them. See you. If you like my work and enjoy my style of teaching, click on any one of these videos and help take your woodworking to the next level. I've always said, better tools make the job so much easier. If you click on the link below, the chisel and plane icon, it'll take you to our site and introduce you to all the tools that we actually manufacture right here in our shop. It'll also give you information on our online and in-person workshops.